All right. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Michael Boothby, your guide in creative liberation, coming at you live from the Authenticity Accelerator group here on Facebook, and going to be going live on Instagram as well. So I'm going to start that feed. Let's go. All right. What's up, Instagram? We're live on Instagram, we're live on Facebook, and yeah, just gonna give it a little time, let people come in. Someone's here. Hey, and as always, guys, if you're in either Instagram or on Facebook, say hi in the comments. Let me know you're here because I can't really see who's here. And we'll get started. We'll get started shortly. I guess I can just start talking about what gonna start talking about what I'm gonna be talking about today. Words. Hey, what's up? What's up, viewers? Got a like. Let's see who's that. Hey, David. What's up, David? Um, cool. Yeah. So, guys, today is the art of conscious creation, aligning your work with your soul's purpose, and I'm really excited to chat about this because this is something that, again, I've been thinking about pretty much my whole life. It's kind of been a challenge, and I'm now really embarking on this mission for myself. And so I hope to share what I'm learning on my mission and hope to inspire you on yours. Or perhaps you're already on your mission. Perhaps you're already having success. Perhaps you already are matching your work with your soul's purpose. In which case, I'd love to hear from you. Ryan, what's up, man? Um, so yeah, so again, let's just get into it. And I think first will share a little bit about myself, and my story in finding alignment. So I turned 33 this year. However, I feel like I've been on this mission of aligning my soul's purpose with my work probably since like my mid 20s. I mean, my first job out of college, I worked on a cruise ship. I love performing. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And again, I had a microphone, I had crowds every night, I was hosting bingo and all those activities, so I got a lot of attention. And, it was really exciting, but I found eventually it was very limiting. Because obviously working on a cruise ship was very corporate, and there was a lot of rules and restrictions. Do this, you can't say that, and I didn't enjoy that. From there, I actually I lived in New Zealand for a year. I got a working holiday visa, and that was really fun. That I kind of was just following my heart, right? And I ended up, I was working at a ski resort as a housekeeper, but I got to, go snowboarding, during breaks, which was really cool. And I also trained an improv team from the ground up, and that's, improvisational theater has really been a big kind of influence in my life as I have my lesson plans right in front of me. Yeah, I'll show these to you guys. Woo! Oops, stuck on the window. Yeah, right? Look, I wrote all of these on pen and computer paper years ago because I wanted to teach an improv class because I missed improv, and how do you do improv if nobody knows how to do it? So I said, okay, I'll teach a class, and I made every week I made up the class, and with the exercises that I enjoyed. And 8 weeks later, we had a really good team. Some people came, some people left, but at the end of it, we ended up producing a whole improv show in town, and it was so rewarding, right? And then that led me to go to the the New Zealand Improv Fest up in Wellington, where I met um, a lot of amazing improvisers. I ended up getting into stand-up comedy. While working in door-to-door sales, that was not super aligned. But then, right, that led to me to write my book, Message with Purpose: Swipe Dating Simplified, where I took kind of working in sales and working in stand-up and improv and going on dates, and I connected all this knowledge to help people connect on dating apps with, authentically and using humor in a way that's, again, really authentic and honest. So yeah, and then again, I moved to Chicago, lived there for 3 years. That's where, again, I was doing a lot of improv. I wanted to start a business doing kind of like improv for corporate team building. I knew someone there who she was already doing that, but she couldn't pay me. So again, though, I found my passions were kind of okay, I'm doing a lot of performing and open mics, but then I was working these like sales jobs or brand ambassador jobs, and all this culminated in 2019. In 2019, I finally published my book, and I went really hard into kind of personal development and taking these coaching courses. And I ended up actually in a pretty bad situation. I ended up paying like $10,000, $15,000 for coaching when I didn't have a job. I was in a bunch of debt, and I had to move home with my parents. So it was very humbling at the age of 29 to move home with my parents. And I invested all this money in this book because I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a dating coach and like help people. And I just couldn't swing it. And then since then I had been building myself back up. Obviously, I was a writer my whole life. I studied history in college, and I ended up getting a job as a content writer for a small, again, a little tech consulting company. Again, not really my life's purpose, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting paid to write now. We're a little closer. And then that led to another job. I got promoted to make twice as much as a content writer for a cannabis PR firm. And I was like, okay, well, I like cannabis. Okay, I'll write for cannabis companies. And then eventually I ended up having the same feeling as I did on the cruise ship, where it was like really corporate, and I was writing all these press releases and everything for these guys in suits. And I said, oh, this doesn't really feel good. And then my last job, which led to my last job, I was working at homes.com as a content writer. And again, okay, well, I'm making the most money I've ever made in my life. But the workplace was really rigid. They kept upping production quotas. It felt a lot less like being a writer and a lot more like being just like on an assembly line, right? And then I dove back into my mythology. I took this mythology course last summer with my teacher Jacques, who I just got back from Bali with for the 10-day breathwork retreat. And right, but it's even then I found my authenticity was being stifled. Right, I was speaking up about things that felt wrong, and they didn't like that, and that eventually led to them firing me and giving me 4 months severance. Which again, so to me, it feels like my path to aligning my work with my soul's purpose. It wasn't even so much choice. It's just no matter I've kept going into the system and doing my best, and then just getting rejected for being who I am. And so perhaps you relate with that. Hey, what's up, Seb? What's up on Instagram? Um, yeah, so again, so now that leads me to where I'm at, which is where I'm finally in this place where I feel like my work is aligned with my soul's purpose, which is what this group is about, the Authenticity Accelerator, right? I'm taking everything I've learned, all of my skills and tools, and I've created this not only this group where I go live every week, but an 8-week program going through mythology, storytelling, and then AI. At my last job, I did a lot of research into AI content writing. So right, I'm kind of taking that because a lot of people don't know how to use AI with the hopes of empowering creatives and entrepreneurs and others to kind of follow in my footsteps. If you are stuck in that, 9 to 5 grind and 40 hours a week and meetings on meetings on meetings, it's so terrible. I'm so happy to be out of it. So, right. And so, right, I'm now kind of, an entrepreneur myself and a spiritual guide, uh, creative consultant, right? I work with other business owners to find more creative ways for them to make money, perhaps making new offers, new programs. Yeah, and it's really rewarding. I'm working with my first paid clients now, and it's so fun. It just feels so aligned with who I am. Then I'm also a transformational facilitator. Even just this morning, I did a rebirthing session with my friend Zach. So I'm starting to work with my first clients for rebirthing, which is a 10 session series of breath work, right? Where we have a diagnostic conversation, and then we do breath work to work through our blocks. And again, to essentially be reborn so that we can be more aligned in our life and um, with our soul's purpose. So, yeah, so again, I just started my business in December. I'm fairly new. And things are a little slow right now. Again, I think that's how it is when you start with something. But I think you just got to keep going and trust that the work that you're doing is helping. And if it feels good, to keep doing it because I'm not going back to the corporate world. It's not for me, and I want to spend the rest of my life helping others heal and find their authenticity and their power and becoming incredibly successful. Because I mean, just look out at the world right now. It's so gray today as well. But it isn't helping. But I just think that there's so much kind of darkness and just people just using each other fast, like fast fashion, fast food, all these businesses, and they're very exploitative. And I don't think, I think it's very short-sighted, and I think people are really ready for a better system. And so I'm hoping that by everyone I work with becomes these empowered conscious creators, so that we can create these new systems that empower others, and so we can be leaders in the 21st century and contribute to inspiring and healing instead of more suffering, because there's already enough of that out there. So cool, let's get into it then. So the first part of this is about discovering your soul's purpose, right? So what is the soul's purpose? It's just funny. So on my altar over there, so my I everyone who I work with, I send them this deck, right? This mythology deck, and I do this because the archetypes expressed in this deck are powerful, right? Ancient gods and goddesses. There's a reason, um, the Greeks worshipped these gods and goddesses, and it's not just because of their power. It's because that they are expressions of our humanity, but also explanation, like a very it just makes the world make sense, right? These are all representations of the world or of our own humanity. And so in this deck, a lot of our astrology correlates with the Titan gods and goddesses. So for me, being Gemini, Gemini correlates with Mnemosyne, right? Who is the Titan goddess of remembrance. So for me, it's like being a Gemini. It's very much that, like, my whole kind of mission here is to remember who I am on a deep level, right? So I think your soul's purpose, I think we all come into this world as like these children, right? With these passions. And we're like really pure, right? And we're just kind of expressing ourselves and playing. And I think it's like that energy right there, that is why we hear it. That is the truest expression of our soul. And as we kind of go through life, especially like the school system, right? 13 years of sitting in classrooms being told you can't do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. It's all about control. And then that we go right into the workforce, and it's pretty much the same thing. And listen to your boss and go to that meeting. And so, I mean, some people spend their whole lives just in that, not knowing who they are, going to their graves. Without ever truly living their soul's purpose. And I would argue that these people come back here to, uh, again, here's another opportunity for you to figure it out and ascend or go to a higher level of existence or being. So it's like your soul's purpose is that stuff that lights you up. And for me, it's like it's going live, it's teaching, it's coaching, it's helping people heal, it's making music. I have my first EP coming out in April. We're all doctors now, which is just this music I wrote to help myself heal when I was going through all of this, trying to figure out who I am. And I hope that that music inspires people. I hope it leads to opportunities for me to go and play my music live, and so people can feel that energy in person. Um, yeah, so right, so I think your soul's purpose is this deeper stuff, right? So it's different from daily tasks, right? Obviously, if you have a job, you got to go to work, right? So you do that, or you come home and cleaning your house, and right, all of this is very much maintenance, right? It's day to day minutia, which kind of in the tarot, right? That would be represented by the minor arcana. I mean, here's just like the six of wands, right? So the minor arcana just represents like a day-to-day life, right? And in day-to-day life we can make adjustments, but it's not so much our soul's purpose. It's not the reason we're here. So again, if any of you guys are here, right, a quick just a short exercise you can do right now, a quick reflection. What are your passions? How do they relate to your perceived purpose? So again, if you have a journal or whatever, or just you just want to open up a quick Word document, right? Just thinking, what do I love? What am I passionate about? and how can that connect in a way, where I can serve others? Because I think that's really it, right? We want our work, we want to help other people by sharing our passions, or perhaps bringing the passions out of them, which I think is one of my gifts. So again, that's just like a short exercise that you guys can do, as I continue this. Um, so, okay, let's go into the second part, the art of conscious creation, right? So, strategies to align work with your soul's purpose. So, again, yeah, once you kind of reach this point where you're like, I've had enough, right? I don't want to work in the corporate world or whatever it is you're doing. How do we then shift? So, right? So, step one, right, is finding out who we are. So, again, that's why in my program, the first 2 weeks are spent with the mythology, because we want to get really clear on who we are. And once we know our archetypes, right, we're not confused anymore, right? Because so many people just they don't know who they are. Or, oh, why am I here? And so, right, they read self help books, or they're scrolling on these TikToks, and every different TikToker or influencer has a different, you know, piece of advice or something, but it doesn't really come together in any meaningful way. You kind of just stay stuck, right? And I lived in this phase for a while. I made a reel about that a few weeks ago, about how from like 15 to 26 I was just self-help book after self-help book, and I felt like it was all this kind of one size fits all advice, and I just kept going from one to the other and feeling like I was changing without actually changing. Um, so again, I mean, again, I kind of shared my story here, but again, I think it's first of all, it's figuring out who you are. Again, I do it with mythology. You can do it in with tarot. Really, just meditation, breath work. I think it's really just a really important exercise. Is just remember who you were when you were a kid. Like really, I really think that stuff that you always loved doing and couldn't shut up about is probably what you're passionate about. That's probably why you're here. And it's funny too, because I've written like over 100 songs in my life. And I remember this is a really, I hope I don't get flagged for this, but when I was a kid, I was on an airplane, and I started. I think they like served us McDonald's or something, and I was a little kid, and I said, "Mom, it's not yucky," and then I just started rhyming, and I was like, "Yucky, mucky." And then I said the F word out loud, and everyone on the plane like died laughing. I was like, "Mom, why did they laugh?" And I was like, "Oh, I was a little comedian, right?" So, it's just I was rhyming words then. It's so funny because now like I'm writing a song and I get the rhyme dictionary out and get really into it. But it's just like you are who you are. Um, so again, let's talk about some like real life examples beyond myself of like individuals who just successfully align their work with their soul's purpose. All right, I've already shared my story. I think one of my favorites, and I really look up to this guy. He's a big inspiration of mine. Is Mark Rebier. Now I don't know if any of you know him. He's got like 3 million followers on Instagram and YouTube, and he's the man, dude. He's so cool because he makes his living. He live loops, and he's the reason actually I bought a looper because during he got really big during the pandemic. And right, he has people call in and he talks to them, and then he improvises a whole song on his looper. But it's just to me, it's like you see Mark Rebier performing, and you're like, I couldn't imagine this guy like in a call center, which is funny because that's what he was doing before this. And then I think he either quit or got fired, and then he went to France, for like a year and studied piano and really got his chops together, and then he came back and just started making videos on YouTube of him looping. And then I think there was one where he got a gig at like a brewery. He was living in Texas at the time, and um, yeah, and like right was just like improvising and being ridiculous, like nothing you've ever seen. And then like everyone in the brewery is like, who is this guy? And right, and he put that on YouTube, and then I think it blew up. And then he started getting more gigs. He started live streaming more, and it just kept going, And then he ended up moving to New York and got a really nice apartment. And again, his live streams, 6 7 thousand people tuning in. And he's just this goofy dude making up songs, but it's like you can just tell it comes from his soul, and he's always inspiring others. And yeah, go after what you love, and it's just so positive. And I think he really is like a modern day Dionysus again. So Dionysus is one of my archetypes as well. So to see someone else who's just doing it right, he's going after it and having a lot of success and having so much fun. To me, um, is so inspiring. I think he actually just moved over to LA. I think his girlfriend now lives there. And again, even on his move out there, he goes setting up in different towns and doing his show. And people really love it. And now, I mean, he's like touring Japan right now, Thailand. He's doing it. He's made it. And again, if he had never, right, if he could have just stayed in that call center, right, and but he didn't, and his life has improved because of it. I'm sure he's making a lot of money, but I'm sure he's doing gigs, he's booking festivals and all this. And he's a full time musician, and he's one of the most unique acts out there. And again, right, just doing his own thing. And it's funny though, because when in interviews and stuff, he says, that he wanted to be an actor growing up, and so it's funny because when I was a kid, I really wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be like a Broadway actor. Like I heard like the Phantom of the Opera and was like, I want to be the Phantom of the Opera. And I don't know. I always loved theater in high school, but it's just I don't know. I think sixth grade was like the biggest role I ever had in a play, and ever since then I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't for me. But again, that for me that led to a love of improv, which led to me teaching, training a whole team from the ground up in New Zealand, and then going to Chicago, and then, even here, I play with a group called Rainbow Soul Food, and it's an improvisational music group, and we, meet every Tuesday and make up songs, and it's so fun. Like, I talk a lot about creative liberation, and I really feel the most creatively liberated when I'm doing improv with a bunch of other killers, right? Who got your back, and it's just you're making it up on the spot. It's so much fun. There's nothing out there that is like as liberating as that, right? No scripts. We're just making it up and having a blast. Um, yeah, and I have a looper too. There's a part of me that does want to start setting up in Richmond and just being the a poor man's Mark Rebier, because I've actually done that back in 2014 or 2015 when I lived in New Zealand. I had a guitar, and I was making up songs for people on the street, and they really loved it. So that was actually before Mark Rebier, but he blew up. He kept going with it. I have a history of being inconsistent with my passions, which again, I'm now being more consistent. I'm doing these lives every week, making content every day, and so that's important. That it's important to be consistent with your passions, even if you have a full time job. It's really important to create every day and cultivate that discipline for your passions, because there's no other way you're going to be able to merge your work with your passions if you don't have that discipline, which again brings us to part three of this live, which is about overcoming obstacles, right? Um, so again, there's a lot of common challenges when it comes to merging your soul's purpose, with work, right? So let's talk about some of them, right? Financial stability, right? It's hard to leave that corporate job, right? Especially my last, I was making $70,000 a year. I was making $2,000 every 2 weeks for just showing up and writing about neighborhoods, right? Was it the most inspired writing? No. But I wasn't worried about my rent. I could go out to eat. So, right, it was comfortable. But again, that comfort came at the expense of 40 hours a week of my time in an office that was really soul sucking. And so, right, you see that a lot, and you have to, you reach a point in your life where you're saying, okay, am I going to keep sacrificing my dreams for comfort? Because you can do that your whole life, and sure, you'll get by, but then do you really want to be 50, 60 years old and look back at your life and go, man, I really should have become a musician, or I really should have opened that bakery, or whatever it is? Because again, right? It's, yeah. I mean, even for me right now, I'm not making a lot of money. I have savings, and but I know that if I just went back to that job, that it's like now I'm back on this treadmill, and now I don't have the time to keep getting out there. So for me, it's just like I'm just viewing it as a challenge. I'm looking for more opportunities to speak and get on stages and do my workshops, because I know the more I can get out there, now that I have this program, I have this group, I have this whole ecosystem that I can teach and inspire in. That I just have to keep getting out there, and truly do believe, we get what we give in this life, right? So I know that if I keep giving this love, giving this wisdom, and helping people, that it's gonna come back to me. So I think, right, when it comes to financial stability, of course, definitely have savings, right? Don't quit a job when you have no money, because you're going to set yourself up for failure. But right, with my last job, I was given 4 months severance, and I put that into my trip to Bali with my teacher. I've invested $5,000 into a coaching program, which is how this group exists. I wouldn't have known how to do this, and getting a lot of help with marketing automation, all this stuff that if I did on my own, I just wouldn't be able to do it. So I mean, again, if there are people out there that are already doing something that you want to be doing and they're successful, reach out to them, right? Or do look into a coaching program, or even like my program. It's an 8 week program for accelerating your authenticity, helping others make content from a really grounded place, from your soul's purpose. So that, and this is why I do it, because if you're just out in the world, if you don't have a guide, if you don't have someone helping you, exactly, when it gets hard, you're going to give up. You're going to go right back to that job. And I don't want that for you. And I don't want that for myself. So you're going to keep seeing me here every Wednesday. And I'm going to keep growing this group. Every week, you're going to see more people in this group. And I'm just going to keep making content because what's left at this point, right? Isn't that Ram Dass said that, right? Once just get on with it, right? Once you get the message, hang up the phone and go and do your thing, chop wood and carry water. So that's what I'm doing. Again, some other challenges, societal expectations. That's a tough one, right? Especially a lot of people grow up and parents, especially like overbearing parents, they want their kids to, oh, my kids will be doctors or lawyers, take over the family business. Is that like Kung Fu Panda? Isn't that like Kung Fu Panda where it's like his dad runs like a noodle company? He's like, you're gonna run the noodle company. He's like, Dad, I want to do kung fu or something. I don't know. There's like so many Kung Fu Pandas now, but right. But again, I think that's even a common theme in our movies and TV shows of just like exactly. There's society expects so much from us, and our family does as well. And we don't want to like let down our parents, and we don't want to let down society, whatever that means. But um, I think it's important, right, to stay true to who you are, right? Because if you let other people dictate your life, then who are you? You're not going to discover your soul's purpose. You're going to live someone else's life, and that's going to lead to you being very unfulfilled and unhappy. Um, Again, self doubt is another one, right? Oh, is this working? Oh man, I was making way more money at my office job. Oh, and oh, I'm doubting, but again, with the self-doubt, it's just, I think for me, another thing I'm realizing again is having a supportive community, right? I have a lot of friends who are spiritual creatives and entrepreneurs living very unique lifestyles, and making good money for themselves too. So it's like I like to stay in touch with them because it just shows me what's possible. And that, the more you talk to people that are, I think, it's important to surround yourself with people who are successful in these fields that you want to be in, right? Because then you can learn from them. But also, I think just the more we kind of become who we hang around. So if you're hanging out with people who are not so successful, or bringing you down, or talking talking shit about you behind your back, like, you gotta just get these people out, because they like what you got, and they're taking from you and not giving you anything back. And that's been something that I've been going through over the past few weeks, is just really getting rid of people who I thought were friends, who actually weren't, because they're talking about me behind my back, and that doesn't feel good. A real friend wouldn't do that. So really, it's important to have a supportive community. You can't do anything alone, especially being an entrepreneur, being a performer, all of that. It's hard, right? You face a lot of rejection, especially when you're new to something. It's like people are like, who's this guy, or who's this girl? What is this? Poser, whatever, whatever, haters. But I mean, one of my favorite authors, Chris Guillebeau, his blog was called The Art of Nonconformity, and that was his first book. But he talked a lot about that. He had a whole chapter in the book of saying, like, when you have haters, that means you're onto something, right? Because you attract haters when you're doing something really unique, and people come out, and they're jealous or whatever it might be. So I've definitely gotten a few haters over the years, man. And so, I mean, I think it's a sign that I'm on the right path. But again, you can't give in to the haters. You gotta keep going. You gotta find the people who love you and support you, and let them feed you, let them carry you. Um, so again, right? So staying true to your path, building a supportive community, or finding one, right? And then I think also embracing incremental changes is another thing that's very important, both in this journey of aligning your soul's purpose, with your work, but also in healing and just life in general, right? Because we all want to transform. We all want to just be at the top right away. I know I'm like that. I'm like, man, I really wish I was just getting booking out these gigs and selling out all all this, but it takes time, right? Change takes time, and we have to trust the process and know that when we create, have these conscious changes a little bit every day, it will add up. Um, and I'm trusting in that. And yeah, I hope you are as well. So yeah, okay, we're about the 30-minute mark, so let's wrap this up. So again, just to recap, right? So the art of conscious creation, aligning your work with your soul's purpose. So right, step one, you got to discover your soul's purpose, right? So think back to when you were a kid. What did you love doing? Just unconsciously, what did you gravitate towards? So you know, journaling, meditating on that, finding what that is, and then rekindling that in your life now as an adult, practicing or perhaps finding the scene where you can practice that and get out there and meet other people, right? And so once we have our soul's purpose, now we have to create consciously, right? So we know I love this. So if you know you love being a musician, then you got to practice and you got to write songs. I mean, if you want to be, a singer songwriter, I mean, maybe you just want to play bass, right? In which case, you got to play bass. Find bands out there who need a bassist and get out there and start playing. Um, right? Think about Mark Rebier, right? Don't stay stuck in your job. If you're in a situation that kind of sucks and you don't like it, change it. Take a risk, right? A calculated risk, though, right? It's important, to save up some money, but save up money knowing that okay, I'm going to quit this job and pursue this, and here's my plan. Make a plan for yourself and commit to it. Right? And then for overcoming those obstacles, once you start walking this path, right? Again, stay true to your path. Trust, you know, build a community, find a community. You got to be supported in this, right? And then embracing those incremental changes. It's not going to happen overnight, but you will get there. If you keep going, if you keep working on your business or your art or your comedy, whatever it is, you'll get there. I have friends from Chicago, right, who I used to perform at open mics with, and some of them they're headlining across the country now, and it's so beautiful to see that. And if they can do it, so can you. If I can do it, so can you. There's nothing stopping you. So um, yeah, so again, for all of you watching this, I encourage you take one small step today towards aligning your work with your soul's purpose this week. Right, those incremental steps. You don't have to do it overnight, but just what's one thing you could do this week to get a little bit closer uh, to this life that you want, where your soul's purpose is aligned with your work. Because imagine what that'll feel like every day, waking up excited to do your work or share your art and getting a lot of support for it and getting paid what you're worth. That's what I'm working towards, and I hope you all are working towards that as well. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you, David. All the love, man. Also, message me, David. We gotta schedule your next session. So shoot me a message after this. Um, yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope this inspired you, motivated you. I hope you got something out of it, and I'm truly, truly so grateful for all of you for coming in and supporting me. And yeah, I'll follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm making content every day, and I'm here to help. I'm here to help. That's what this is. And again, yeah, you can engage with me with a lot of ways. You can message me. Um, Show me some love in the comments. Again, if you want to work with me on a deeper level, I have my 8-week program that I'm constantly enrolling new clients in, the Authenticity Accelerator. It's 8 weeks of mythology, storytelling, and AI. It's one-on-one with me. It's just me. There's no other. It's not even a program. It's because every session is completely different, right? And I want to make sure that every client I work with has the space, has the time to explore who they are, so we can really build something beautiful together, and then you can go out in the world and just rock it. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. So take care. Bye bye.